Today's video, I'm going to talk about the most recent event I went to, Blood and Steel, at the Autumn Nights Renaissance Fair, as well as Boohurt in Review, and my year in review and the events I've been to and kind of where this sport has taken me over the last year. So it's been a little while since I've made a video. Partly it's because I've been really busy traveling this year. A lot of that has been personal travel, but a lot of it's been fight travel too. This is the most I've ever traveled in a year, and I just finished the last big local event, Blood and Steel, here in New England in Massachusetts, held at the Autumn Nights Renaissance Fair. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, maybe put up a couple of the pictures from the event. Hoping that there's video coming soon. I know they had a drone recording stuff. I just haven't seen the video yet from it. So I'm not waiting, going to get this out. But more I wanted to talk about kind of where this sport's taken me in a year and a reflection on what this past year has been like. And, you know, I know that everyone's journey is going to be different in this sport depending on, you know, the level of competition you're looking for, your time, your money that you have to travel. And, you know, I was kind of thinking about how much I got to do this year, but also how much I didn't get to do, and the positives and negatives of that. So looking back at this year, not counting just local fights, like, you know, a tournament or a fight at the Knights Hall or a night fight kind of scrimmage and a practice and all that, the big events that I went to this year that I would consider kind of standout events, Carolina Carnage, went to that and fought in the Tier 1 division. We took third place in 5s, second place in 10s. That was awesome. Went to Grapes of Wrath in Virginia and fought there, and then took first in that in the men's fight. That was a BI tournament as well, so was Carnage. Went to Germany to fight this year at Way of Honor. We did not medal there. We had a kind of tough tournament. We won 4 of 6 in our pool, but did not make it out of our pool. We kind of messed up a fight that I think we should have won in retrospect. Again, all the competition was great, but I think we had it in the bag and we made mistakes, didn't get out of the pool. It happens, but still an amazing event. Then to Reno for Legion Sport Fest. One of my favorite events every year, one I've been lucky enough to go to for multiple years in a row. So Legion Sport Fest is in Reno, Nevada. But what I like about it is held at a sporting convention. So there's bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, all this different stuff. There's a video about it from past years on my channel. Didn't even make one this year. It was just too busy. Where we took first in 5s on that, which was awesome. And then that last tournament, Blood and Steel, which I just talked about, which is, you know, right here local to me, but a BI tournament and one of the traditional Knights Hall yearly big events, which was awesome. And then we're heading out to Virginia one more time for Tower Tournament, which will be in a couple weeks. And that'll be it for the year for me for big travel. And that's a lot to do in a year for a sport where I'm not getting paid and I'm taking my vacation time and I'm traveling around. I got to see a lot of things. Germany was amazing, and I think with all the other places I've been over the years of fighting, the places I've gotten to go, and it really is great that I got to do that much. What prompted this video was me sitting around and thinking about the stuff that I missed, right? War in the North I didn't get to go, the Harambe tournament, IMCF this year and the qualifier. I qualified last year. I got the time mixed up, but even that we chose not to go to. We couldn't afford or budget or figure out the time for all of that. And part of me got really annoyed at some of the stuff that I really wanted to do and didn't get to do. And thinking about next year and trying to figure out what events we want to go to and do. And I think we may even be dialing back a couple of those. There's just so much going on that it's hard to make everything. And how frustrating that is to want to be part of everything, but also how wonderful it is to see the sport growing in such a way that there's so many events that are quality, great events that I can't make it into all of them. And I'm hoping as we add more and more teams, we grow more and more, that some of these regional events become codified. Some of them are codified culture year events. And we might see less teams traveling far distances for them because there's so many local teams that they're going to come and do it, right? Maybe people will travel for the ones they like, or to kind of keep a reputation or a history. Like Reno's a long way for me to go from New Hampshire, but it's one that I've done every year. My team's done, and we've kind of built a tradition out of it, and we enjoy the event. We enjoy going out to the same place and knowing the area, and having sushi after our fights is a tradition. Those are things that we kind of baked into our own culture, and I'm sure every team's baked those things into their culture as well. In an ideal world, maybe I did this full time. I could go to every event, and I could travel every weekend, and I could be funded and all that, but that's not where we're at this point. So you really have to pick and choose. And I love seeing events that are growing in regional areas into national ones. I love seeing certain events you'll see the same teams at that you may not see. Like when we go to Nevada, we fight teams that I don't get to fight most of the time. It's pretty great. So that's really my thought is like, wow, what a cool experience that we're at the point now, post-COVID. We've got the leagues kind of unified, right? Like they're still different as AMCF and IMCF and whatever now, AMMA is national, and AM there's another one. There's a bunch of ACS, right, events. And like they all get different acronyms, but really at this point, I don't think anyone cares, right? You sign up for the event, you know the rules, you make sure your gear's legal, that's fine. But you go and you fight. And there's crossover if people are league specific, but really it's just coming down to like we're all boo-hurt, we're all armored combat fighters. Dare I say in the US, we're all knights. I know that's going to upset some people who hate that term. Maybe make a video on that in a little while too, and why I prefer to use the word knight. But there's kind of, if there are different leagues, it's great. That leagues tend to be more about points for different systems and things like that. But the fights are the fights, and everyone's going to them. I think that's great that we're doing that we've built that culture, we've moved past those boundaries. I think that even seeing things like AMMA out of Nashville, which is building its own pro fight league, its own set of rules that are slightly different, but it's not being built as this is the place to go and the other ones are no good. Right, there was that feeling years ago. It was like, this league's the good league, that league's the bad league. No, it's that this is our rule set, our event, and we're sponsoring and growing and building, and that's great, right? I think there's plenty of room for that. I think as long as there's an openness like we have now, where people can sign up, teams can sign up, you can go to the fights, and we're kind of allowing that growth in the country, and I'm talking U.S. only. I don't have a lot of international experience other than the big international tournaments I went to, and again, Way of Honor in Germany, awesome. Teams from all over the world were there. Everyone gets along. It was great. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot. It's like, one, it's so great that I get to do all these things, and I've had the opportunity. I've got a team that's willing to do it, and I've had a really great year results-wise in the events we've gone to. That's wonderful. The other side of it is there's so many things I wish I could do that I didn't do. That leads me to Blood and Steel. Blood and Steel is an annual event held here in New England. Its locations change, usually Massachusetts or New Hampshire, but it's one of the Knights Hall's kind of core events. And I think about Knights Hall events that happen every year. There's St. Patrick's Day Brawl, there's Love Hurts, which is the Wheel of Pain where you spin it and you get random weapons. That's kind of a for fun tournament. There's Blood and Steel, and there's Rookie Rumble. Those are the four that kind of become tradition in New England, and I encourage you, if you're anywhere in the area, those are the four fights you want to go to. They kind of have the history of being run, some of them now for 10 years plus, right? But Blood and Steel is usually the one that is more competitive. It's one we have more teams travel to. It kind of died out a little bit after COVID and had a hard time bringing back. Don't want to get too much into the politics of New England fighting for anyone watching, but there were some disagreements between some captains and teams and individual fighters that kind of broke New England up for a little while. And we're seeing that reform. We're seeing teams come back and everyone just wants to fight, right? So Blood and Steel was a BI event, which was awesome. It was held at the Autumn Nights Renaissance Fair, which is a two-day Renaissance Fair that Knights Hall does host. It's a really great event. Unfortunately, this year I can only go for day one of the event for just the fighting. I had too much on my schedule. But it was really good to see that kind of flourish again and be rebuilt. A lot of at the Renaissance Fair, a lot of fans, so a lot of people coming in for it to watch. They were very excited. A lot of little kids at the event, super excited to see Knights coming up and talking to us after. I had a really fun privilege of a little child, probably 9, wearing pajamas at the Renaissance Fair, who came up to me and looked up at me and said, "Hey, I heard that you're Big Chuck." I said, I guess I am Big Chuck for you. And he said, I really need help with something. And he had a foam LARP shield he bought at one of the booths. And he's like, can you show me how to wear a shield? And I was like, wow, this is probably the highlight of my day is getting to help this little kid. And he's coming to a real night and being like, wow, he's going to help me. And I showed it to him, strapped it on him, helped him get it, to hole punch it to make it fit his arm a little bit because the strap wasn't punched far enough. And then he went away feeling like, wow, I got to meet a knight. And I got to, show me how to use a shield. And I'm sure he's going to remember that moment. And that was really cool for me. So, the reason I want to talk about this is just like there's a lot of events and you can't go to all of them. Pick the ones you want to, take your team, be friendly with other teams, go try and compete with them and do the best you can. But if you are looking for an event in New England, I encourage Blood and Steel will be next year in the fall. We're trying to get more teams to travel a little bit to this one. I know the Northeast can be a hard area for people to travel to, especially with, like I said, there's so many other events running along. But if you pick one, that's the one I'd pick. Well, I believe it's going to be BI going forward for that, which we really enjoyed being able to have a points event for that in the region. I think it's the second New England BI tournament. I could be wrong. There could be other ones I don't know about. I think Maine holds one, Coastal Chaos. Speaking of another event, Coastal Chaos, right in Maine was one that we couldn't go to this year because scheduling. I even forget why. I think it was the weekend before another fight we were flying out to. But there's, that's another BI one that, Canada, New England fighters at that one. We have the Blood and Steel, New England one. Like I said, we're heading out to Tower in Virginia. So this might be more of a ramble than most of my videos, more me just getting out some of my thoughts. But talking about, if you want to do this sport, right, some of the country has a really good local fight scene, right? If you're in certain regions, you're going to be able just to go and fight every weekend. Even if you're not, there are enough events within traveling distance of most people that you can be part of this and part of some of the big events. Now, maybe it's not the biggest, or maybe it is the biggest. Sometimes there were a couple teams at Carnage that I think this was one of their first or a couple fighters I know were their first or second tournament, right? So that's a great experience. That's awesome for them. Maybe a couple teams too that were newer in a tier 2 bracket. I didn't meet every team there. It was a huge event. But join a team. Reach out to me if you need help. Let's get you fighting. Let's get you training, and then you can be in a situation like me where someday you go, wow, look at all the stuff I did, but man, I wish I could do more. I'm the Woodchuck Knight. Like, subscribe, follow, all that wonderful stuff. If you have questions, drop me a message or a comment, and I look forward to talking to you guys again.